All right, we back with another episode of Free Therapy. This week I have a brand new licensed therapist, a professional on the show to answer some of the questions that's been sent in. Actually, one of the questions. All right, so this one is pretty heavy, and even the way it was typed, it sounded like it was typed with a lot of passion. I say. Uh, so I'm gonna let my therapist on the show introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claude King. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor based out of the Chicagoland area. I have a therapy practice in the Beverly neighborhood off 107th and Western. I've been a therapist for about, like 9 years or so. I started off doing a lot of community mental health and working with children and family involved in the child welfare system, a lot of foster kids, a lot of kids that had been taken away from their families because of abuse and neglect. So I would do therapy with them. And then also sometimes I would do therapy with the adults too, to help address the issues for why their kids are taken away. So the whole goal was just reunification with the families. So I started off doing that. Then got into like doing work in some of the school systems in Chicago. In my previous job, we had a federal grant. It was called an anti-violence grant. So we would actually be stationed in different high schools around Chicago. So I was working in Marshall High School and Al Raby High School in the East Garfield Park community. Yeah. And I would pretty much come in, take kids out of class, and provide individual counseling service for them, and then run stress management groups. It's around that time, like 4 years ago, I started my therapy practice, and I see like teens, adults, and couples there.
That's what's up, man. Definitely helping families and definitely in the trenches with it. So that's a good thing because I know a lot of kids. I was a teacher for 6 years, and there's definitely a lot of kids that need those services, even on the elementary school level.
Definitely.
Which is it's a lot going on out here, man. So I definitely appreciate you coming on the show. I'm gonna try to kind of go through what's going on with this situation. I need y'all to bear with me. Like I said, I feel like this was written with a lot of passion, and we're gonna try to get through it real quick. So this is what it says. This is and again, this is free therapy where you can send in anonymous questions. You could click the link in my bio. You can actually go to Terry Roseland on Instagram at Terry Roseland. Click the link in my bio. Go down to questions for free therapy and submit an anonymous question, and we will get those questions answered right here on the show. Okay. So the woman is basically saying that she's been dating a guy for 10 years. She got pregnant twice, had 2 miscarriages. During the second pregnancy, his previous baby mother also got pregnant, okay? Now, the baby mother is saying that the baby was his. He denied that the baby was his. 2.5 years later, they break up. The baby father's family allows the previous baby mother to move in with the children, and basically, he continues to deny that the baby is his.
Yeah.
However, the child of the previous baby mother, the new child that's in question, communicates with her child and calls her child sister. She says that she wants to protect her child from the whole situation and kind of keep her away from the other kid. And she asks the baby father to get a DNA test on the child in question, and he denies that. He says that he does not want to get a DNA test, and so it's kind of like she's in limbo, and it seems like, not even seems like, I think she said somewhere in here. This is a long post, but she says somewhere in here, that she kind of wants to give a situation a chance, right? But she doesn't really know where to go because it's kind of in limbo because he won't get the DNA test, and it seems like she kind of in a hard place right now. So we're gonna deep dive into this, man. I think it's a lot of different ways. We talked about detachment on the first episode of Free Therapy. It seems like it might be some of that here, but I'm gonna let you run point on this one.
Yeah. So in hearing this story, the first, I got two sides. I had two reactions. Like my regular self, just Claude, separate the therapist. I'm like, why don't you just, leave this guy? Seems like the evidence is very clear that, you guys been together for 10 years and, you had a kid together, you had 2 miscarriages, and then you guys broke up and, the previous baby mama is living with your family and he doesn't want to get a DNA test. To me, that's like a clear-cut sign that, he doesn't want to be with you anymore. You have all the answers you need. But when I dive a little bit deeper into it and I bring my therapist side into it, hearing like the first thing that she said, she talked about having 2 miscarriages. And I think we need to kind of put that in its proper context. When a woman experiences a miscarriage, that is a loss. You know,
Right.
that is, she's grieving the loss of 2 kids that she did not have.
Right.
And we need to really acknowledge that piece of it. And then also, she is experiencing the loss of a 10-year relationship on top of that.
Yeah.
So she's really just going through it. And I think, you know, just to bring in like more context to it, a lot of women that experience miscarriages have symptoms of depression and anxiety that kind of accompany it. And then they also may have PTSD symptoms as well too.
Right.
I had like, you know, brought in some statistics just to quote, according to the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence, 30 to 50% of women experience anxiety and 10 to 15% experience depression, typically lasting up to 4 months after experiencing a miscarriage. And then it also says that women that experience a miscarriage, the grief and loss that they experience is comparable in nature, intensity, and duration to reactions experienced by a major type of loss. So that's pretty much saying is that if you experience like the loss of like a loved one, a friend, or a family member, that grief is the same as experiencing like a miscarriage of a child. Yeah. So she's got all of that going on, and then on top of it, you know, the 10-year relationship ended, and then there's this other woman, the previous baby mama, that is saying that he had a kid with her, and then his family allowed her to move in with them. So I'm sure she's like, what's going on here? Like, if this is not your kid, like you said it's not, then why is your family letting her move in with you?
Right.
So then after the breakup, he doesn't want to get the DNA test. Pretty much is just like, you know, it's not worth getting it. Just take my word for it. Right. And she's still, you know, holding on to hope that, you know, this could work out because she's not really getting the answers that she needs.
Yeah.
So I kind of viewed it through the lens of like her going through the 5 stages of grief, which is, first one is, denial. So she's going through denial, and I think that's kind of where she's stuck at. She's still trying to like accept like if this is really happening or not, and she's stuck in that stage, and she's kind of like going back and forth with herself whether she should actually kind of believe the evidence that is in front of her. Like, you know, this kid, you know, moved in. The baby mama's moved in with his family. She gave this kid his last name. The kid is like coming over to his house, and he's kind of like playing daddy towards her. Yeah. And then the kid is calling up her house asking to speak to her little sister. But she doesn't have any like kind of hardcore evidence that this kid is not his because he won't get the DNA test. Right. So she's stuck in this stage of denial. And it's preventing her from going through the rest of the stages of grief, which is the anger stage, the bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. Yeah. So I think until she gets that question answered, it's going to be hard for her to like kind of move forward.
Right.
And that's kind of like the lens that I'm viewing it through. Like, she's hurt, she's depressed, she's anxious, she's experiencing the grief and loss of her kids that were never born, and then also the loss of this relationship.
Got you. So my question in it all is kind of like, you know, it's up to him whether he gets that test done or not. So if she can't move on until he does it, like, it got to be something she could do. Because what if he just never does it? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? What should she do? Like, she just be stuck in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not. I mean, I know you might can't just answer that, but I mean, like, let's explore like some. Do she have options? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you always have options, no matter how unfavorable the situation is. I mean, it's probably an option she's not ready to explore yet. Yeah. She's still holding on to hope that, I guess, either he'll get the DNA test, or that it seems like she's still like hoping that this relationship will still work out. Right. Like, it's been over for 2.5 years, and she still has love for this guy. You know, you've been with somebody for 10 years and you got a kid together, that's naturally going to happen. So she's still holding on to hope that this relationship is going to work out. And I don't think she's at the point now where she's ready to give that up yet. And I think she's trying to wait to see if it plays out a little bit more. And maybe, you know, she might get some questions answered that she has, you know, just from like, you know, just kind of seeing how things are playing out between him and this girl that's supposed to be his daughter. Maybe she's hoping that she can convince him to get a DNA test. Right. And I think that, you know, that's ultimately her decision. But yeah, she has a choice to either like end things right now because, you know, she's in a difficult situation where this other girl's calling up the house and like asking to speak to her sister. So she's like, I don't even know if I want to like encourage this relationship or not, because this might not actually be your sister. So she can like cut it off now or just like wait for things to play out a little bit longer. And he may get the DNA test and he may not. But I mean, that's, you know, that's what comes with that. Just letting it play out.
Absolutely, man. I got so many questions. So if her step that she chose to take was to just let go and to walk away, what would be like step one for her? Like mentally, like what would, because I feel like with myself, when I walk away from situations, I like to have something to hold on to, like a slogan, maybe just something I think of in my head. Like if I'm walking away from a situation, I would like to, like my last situation I had to walk away from, I looked at it like, okay, regardless of how you feel when you're around this person, regardless of how much you may miss this person, regardless of how much you might miss having sex with this person, at the end of the day, they're not willing to solve the problems that y'all have. Like, so if I remind myself of that when I miss this person, it instantly is like, what the fuck? It don't matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing, like at the end of the day, you know that she's not going to work on the things that you need her to work on to solve the problems that you have. She's not done it. She's shown no effort towards it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? And that thought keeps me comfort in the leaving. So it's like, what advice would you have for her as far as like her step one or something she can hold on to as she walks away?
I mean, that's a big part of it there is, I think, especially when you're like in a relationship, and I've been through this too, you have a tendency to glamorize parts of the relationship.
Absolutely.
And you forget the reason why you actually left. So then, like, of course, like, you're experiencing a loss of relationship. This is a person you spent a lot of time with. You created memories together. And then now it's over. And then you naturally miss that. You miss that. You want that back. And then you start to kind of, like, negotiating with yourself, like, well, was it really that bad? Or, like, could we have worked through this? This was really not, like, that big of an issue. And you start to, I call that as that self-talk. You kind of start talking yourself out of your decision. And I think a big piece of that is what you mentioned is like really viewing things from both sides of the coin and looking at both the pros and cons of the relationship and like reminding yourself of why you left in the first place. It's like, you know, you put that time and effort into it. You communicated what you were needing out of that particular relationship. Ultimately, it didn't work out and you left for a reason. I think also another part of it is just having some accountability from like other people that care about you. Like, you know, if you're starting to like second guess your decision, if you have like a trusted friend or family member that you can talk to, they can kind of keep you grounded and like remind you, you know, this is why you made this decision. And sometimes that's what we need too, just like somebody else to just validate, you know, how we're feeling. Because if you don't have that accountability piece, somebody who's really going to like speak to you and tell you the truth, you'll like go back on your decision and try to give it another shot. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely. And the other question I had with the whole situation was like, when I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, if she's saying that it's his kid, they had to at least have had sex.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Is he saying they like, because I'm part of the message he was saying like, oh, I know what my dick has been.
Yeah.
So are you saying you didn't have sex with her at all, and she's just saying that y'all got this kid? Because that's like a hell of a lie.
Yeah.
To say that this is your kid, and I know we didn't even have sex. So, and you know, the question more so to the woman who wrote it is like, do you believe that they didn't have sex? Because if they did have sex, and there is a possibility that this is your kid, I think that's enough to walk away with, whether it's his or not. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he cheated in a situation. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point. I did not even think about that until you mentioned it. Like the fact that she's saying that is his kid, that means they were intimate or involved in some shape or form.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, you know, why they actually broke up. That wasn't really clear in the message. She said it ended like 2.5 years ago. And I don't know if it was because of the miscarriages or because she found out this news that, you know, the previous baby mama was pregnant and she was saying it was his kid, and that was like kind of enough to start the breakup. But I mean, that's a valid point. Yeah, and I agree with you. Even if this kid isn't his, like, he was still cheating on you, you know.
Right.
And I think, you know, and that's something that she has to, I guess, decide on her own. Is, you know, because I've seen a lot of relationships where there has been an infidelity, but they were able to work through it.
Yeah.
You know, either by coming to like the couples therapy and kind of like, you know, processing, you know, over like what happened and how did this happen, like, you know, were there like certain needs that weren't getting met, and how, you know, improving communication and just like creating like boundaries around the relationship, to make sure that this doesn't happen again, whether it's like cutting certain people out of your life, you know. And it's hard to do with, you know, a baby mama, but, you know, if you know what can be tempting for you in certain regards, and like you gotta, you know, kind of safeguard yourself from that by, like, you know, deleting numbers out of your phone, or maybe not going out, you know, after a certain, you know, time. And, you know, so like it just, you know, that those are things you could talk about, you know, in couples therapy, just trying to, like, you know, how can we move forward from this infidelity. So if that's something that he's like open to and she's open to, yeah, they can definitely explore that. But if not, and this relationship, you know, is truly over, then, you know, I think that cheating definitely is like a good reason to walk away from this situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's an infidelity.
Yeah. My other thing is that, like, I think a lot of these situations, in my belief, every situation, unless it's like some form of abuse, it's two sides to it. You know what I'm saying? And it's accountability on both sides. It's, you know, both people contribute to like the issue that's happening. And it's like, it's been so many times where I'll hear a problem, somebody present a problem, and it's kind of like and from what they told you, it's like, yeah, this person that you're talking about is like wild as hell. Like, this person is wrong. You know what I'm saying? But then when you hit the other side, it's like, well, hold on, hold on,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because from that other person's perspective, it just might be so many details that's been left out. And I say that to say that, you know, I don't want to paint the guy as a good or a bad person, because we don't know his side of the story. But I say all that to say that it sounds like gaslighting. Would that be a appropriate term for this situation? Because it's like, you know, this is clearly a thing. This child is living, breathing, talking. Like, this is real.
Yeah.
Right? And this child now lives with your family, so they obviously believe that, you know, I mean, and granted, you had another child with this person, so, you know, they might, we all know that
they have a relationship
that child
already.
so, but it seems like, you know, she had a second child, now your family moves her in. I don't know what the circumstances of why she needed to live with that family or why that happened. It might be other circumstances around that.
Right.
But however, we do know that this child believes that she's your child. You know, the mother believes she's your child. The mother lives with your family. It's a good chance that the family believes it's your child. But you're telling me that it's not, and you're not willing to provide any type of proof. Like, that is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It is.
And it to me, it sounds like a gaslighting situation. It sounds like, you know, something that could drive somebody else crazy. Like, you making somebody feel like they're not logical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think her line of thinking is logical, but when it gets to the point of her saying, like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to walk away from this situation or not, it's like, you can't be second guessing in this situation that much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think love does that, right? It makes us go against logic and say, like, oh, well, maybe you know, maybe he didn't have sex with her. Maybe she just made all this up. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
And I think a big part of it too, like, one of the things she said is that he's a good father towards her daughter.
Right.
And I think, you know, she may have came from a family that didn't have a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot of times what keeps people in relationships a lot longer than they should be, is they really want to have that family unit.
Yeah.
If you didn't grow up in a family where you had 2 parents available and you want that for your family, you'll hold on to a relationship longer than you should have, especially if he's a good father towards her. And I think some people really just need, like, kind of like the smoking gun, in a sense, like they really just need to have that that like hardcore evidence, like I caught you cheating, I saw a text message or whatever, and she feels like she doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But then like you also brought up a good point, like we don't know the other side of the coin. We're not hearing from his perspective too.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the couples that I work with, not even couples, I see a lot of, black men in my practice that are, around my age, like late 20s, early 30s, who have, cheated on their, wives, girlfriends, etc. And a lot of times it came from the motivation to do it came from not getting like a certain like need met.
Facts. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
And that's, not, to condone cheating, to kind of deal with
Definitely
that situation.
not. Yeah.
But like, if you're a man, and especially if you're communicating like your needs, if there's a certain need that you have that's not, being met, or something that you don't like in a relationship, and then there's just like a tendency with us, especially as black men, is to completely like disregard our feelings, like, oh, it's not a big deal or whatever. And it's kind of like you're saying this is an issue, and you're not being taken serious. And then you start, looking towards other means to get those needs met. And some of those, other means are not healthy for the relationship.
Right.
So I think there might have been something going on his end. They've been with each other for 10 years, and they have a kid together. And like I also wonder, if they even talked about like taking the next step in the relationship, if marriage is even a discussion. But it was something that like made him leave the relationship. I think, it could have been like not getting his needs met. It could have been the, suspected infidelity and having the kid with his baby mama. But his side of the story is important to like really acknowledge. Like we don't have that whole piece of this equation. So it's really hard to like, really, really like take her word as truth, because everybody has their own perspective, everybody has their own truths. And I think you kind of need both of those sides to really kind of like really understand like the full context of what's happening.
Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to touch on that you just said was about how people need evidence to walk away, right? And I talked about that slightly on the show before. I feel like, at some point we have to love ourselves and care about our own mental health enough to walk away from situations with no evidence, because whether you have the evidence or not, if you feel uncomfortable in a situation, and it's ongoing and there's no solution in sight, I think that you should walk away regardless. Like if you got the vibe that someone's cheating on you, either A, they are cheating on you, or B, they're not, and you have an insecurity in you, either way, you might not need to be in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like or you might need to just talk to them and say, hey, I feel this way. It might be something that you're doing that's triggering me to feel this way, or it just might be something in me that I'm just not ready for the situation. But either way, I think that it should be some type of distance without the evidence, because I feel like people drag and stay in situations because they can't get the evidence they need to leave. And I think that it's not really that important whether this thing is real or not. How you feel is real. You know what I'm saying? And you're not thriving in this situation. So
I think people are afraid of regretting decisions. People don't want to regret, and they like let things play out longer than they should. And I think the attachment styles come into this too, because if you have an anxious attachment style and the relationship is like codependent, and you feel like, especially you've been with somebody for 10 years, like that's a significant part of your life. I don't know how old she is, but that's a significant part of your life. And it's like you're used to having this person to like rely on, shoulder to cry on, person to talk about whatever you're going through. And then this piece is taken away from you, and she's probably feeling like I don't know how to move on from this. Like how do I pick up the pieces? How do I just be an independent person separate from this relationship? She's gonna have to kind of refigure that out again. She's gonna have to relearn herself, and I think that is a big piece of it too. Just probably not feeling like she knows how to be just alone and separate from this guy.
Definitely. And my other thing is this that I want to touch on that you said. Well, not even that you said, but the attachment to a co-parent is like harder than the average relationship. And in this situation, like you said, we don't know how old she is. It's based on the demographic of people that listen to my show and that interact with me. I'm willing to guess that she's no older than 35, probably somewhere between like 27 and 35, right? So it's safe to say that this is probably her only real adult relationship. So you put that on top of the 10 years, the fact that like, you know, we have these relationships when we were younger and it's just like a couple dates and this and that. But when we get older, it's like we live with people. We have kids with people. We experience the world. We travel with people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like that first adult relationship is very difficult to walk away from because
sharing
you kind of
finances too, man. Like say if she was having kids, she might have been a stay-at-home mom. He might have been a sole provider of the family. So she may have not even been in the workforce.
Yeah. So that it's so many factors that go into that. And I think on top of that, when you have a kid with somebody versus when you don't, you know, the situation when you don't, it's easy to walk away because you don't have anything connecting you. You don't have anything bonding you. You don't have to see this person when you don't want to. You don't have to talk to them when you don't want to. When you had a kid together, you know, you're going to have to talk to this person. You're going to have to see this person. If you're actively trying to co-parent, you're going to have to do all of these things. And it could be tough sometimes because their personality is still their personality. They still attractive to you. They still look the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's different ways where, you know, they can rub you in a way that makes you feel a way. You know what I'm saying? And they have different access to you. And then your kid loves this person. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these things to where it's like it's harder to walk away from that than it is a normal situation. So just wanted to acknowledge that as well. So it's not a thing to where like, you know, I'm pretty sure she's a very strong person and things like that. It seems like she's just in a tough spot and got to take the right steps for herself. Regardless of in my opinion, regardless of the evidence that she's provided.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think to go along with that is, you know, being comfortable with your decision. Like I said before, having those people in your corner that continue to like validate your feelings. And like, if, you know, if he is gaslighting her, like bringing in that perspective to it. And it's like, no, like, you know, you're not crazy. Like, this is like how you feel your feelings are valid. Like, you see like the evidence that's in front of you, and, you know, you got to make the decision that's best for you and your daughter. And that might be, you know, moving on from this relationship and just trying to cultivate like a healthy co-parenting relationship with this guy. And I think she's perfectly within her right to kind of protect her daughter and create these boundaries around her family and not let, you know, this daughter, you know, allegedly to reach out to her daughter and trying to cultivate a relationship. You know, she's well within her right to protect her. And until she gets the questions answered that she's looking for, until he takes the DNA test, you know, I don't think she should be trying to encourage this relationship, you know, with this other girl. But yeah, I think, you know, just trying, it's going to be difficult. It's like, and I think that's what prevents people from moving on too. It's like they don't want to go through that kind of like initial pain and heartbreak and having to like, you know, grieving the loss of this relationship. And she's going to have to really like be good with her boundaries too. And like, you know, let him know like, you know, this is not what it was before. Like, you're not going to be able to come over and like have access to me like you did before. Like, we're just strictly co-parenting now. I have to protect myself and my own emotions so I can like truly heal from that. So she's going to have to be really good about that. And then also like having people in her corner that's like holding her accountable for that, checking in with her, making sure she's like doing what she needs to heal.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you touched on that because I actually looked at it the opposite when I first read that about the two kids having a relationship. And the only reason was because like I would have, like, I looked at it like that until I thought of the fact that, well, if that daughter lives with the family, then they're going to be together anyway. So it's like trying to separate them kind of puts them in the middle of the problem because they would naturally be friends. They would naturally kind of call each other sister. If you're at my dad's house, we're around the same age, the whole family thinks that we're, you know, it's probably adults kind of pushing that as well. You know what I mean? Like the other adults, not just the mom.
Yeah. And
it's like if they're going to be, whether you call them sister or not, they're going to have this relationship because when she's over there, they live, they're going to, I don't know what the living arrangement is. If, you know, it's a full time with the mom or 50-50 or, you know, weekends, whatever it may be. But whatever time that her daughter spends at his house or at the family's house, they're going to be together. See, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Like, let them, you know, be friends. Now, whatever, you know, bullshit goes on behind closed doors with the adults, I feel like it should just be separate. And the kids shouldn't know about that at all.
That's interesting because I was coming from this just assumption that she wasn't letting her daughter go over to his house for some reason. Like, because he had moved out. She said they've been broken up for 2.5 years. He got his own spot now. Yeah. I was assuming like the daughter hadn't been over his house. Because like, you know, because it's like, for me, it's like if the alleged daughter is like calling up asking to speak to her sister and she's over at the dad's house, like, to me, that means like they haven't had any contact with each other yet. Okay, so they haven't met each other yet. So I'm just assuming, but I don't know. You could be right there too.
See, we got to call y'all. If y'all gonna have to start coming into the damn studio free. There's too many questions, man. There's too many questions. But yeah, I think I assume the opposite just because like with my kid, you got kids?
Yeah, I got Sterling. He's 16 months.
Oh, nice. Congratulations on that. Yeah. I got a 10-month-old. But I also have a 7-year-old. And like with the 7-year-old, you know, with Carter, he calls the kids he knows. Like, he's not calling the kid he don't know. He never met before. You know what I'm saying? It's like we hung out, we kicked it. I miss my friend. I'm about to call him. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, you know, just assuming, you know, I guess all kids are the same. So I'm just assuming, you know, like, all right, she's trying to call to catch up with her friend type of thing. Yeah. So that's another interesting one. So we don't really have all the answers because we don't have, you know, we don't even have all the questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
but I think the thing that's interesting though, like if he's saying this is not his daughter and he don't want to get a DNA test, who told this girl that that's his sister? Like if she's over his house and she's like calling up like, I want to speak to my little sister. Like it could have been the mom that told her that, but but he also allowed her to call over to the house to speak to his sister. So it's like, I mean, to me, that's like another, like to our point earlier, like you kind of see how this is playing out, even if you don't have the DNA test. Like,
yeah, the writing is on the wall. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's saying like even if he's not playing that role fully, his family is playing that role. So it's kind of like the infrastructure, whether it's blood or not, like the infrastructure of that being, she's a part of the family. Like it is what it is, you know. And I don't know. I grew up, and I'm more open to stuff like that probably because I grew up in mixed families and stuff. Well, not with my immediate family, but my extended family, I've seen a lot of mixed families, and it's been very like cohesive, and it worked, which is not the norm. But it was the norm for me. You know what I'm saying? Like my cousin had multiple sons that I thought they all were his, but they were really all his. Only the oldest was his, and then the rest were his baby moms. But you know, regardless of what was going on with their fathers, he kind of like took care of all of her kids. And he's married. You know what I'm saying? He's married to another woman, but he doesn't deal with the baby mom at all. But all of her boys are like, because his thing was like, let's keep the boys together. Like, just because we're separate don't mean that like they're all still brothers. You know what I'm saying? So he took care of all of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And if they go to the other father house, they all go to the other father house. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when they had like him and his wife used to have barbecues for their anniversary, and like the baby mom come and all of those boys' fathers came and were cool with him. Like they were friends. Like all of the fathers like, but that's how I, these are the first situations I was seeing at all. So I didn't see dysfunction. And that I saw like a bunch of dudes, they was all had money, they was all cool. They used to it was like a car show at the barbecue, you know, so they used to bring their cars out. And it was cool. Like, it was no issues.
He must have had like really good communication with like all the parties involved to be able to like cultivate that type of like, it's like a family unit. Like, it's just like he created his own family, you know, and I don't see that too often. Yeah.
And he refers to him like as his son, even, and, you know, and the father is fully active, the biological father is fully active, but they're friends though. Like, they tight. You know what I'm saying? Man. And, but I don't know how it started. I walked into it like, you know, I was like a kid when those relationships were formed. So I walked into it actually seeing it and paying attention to it at like 15, 16, but that's just how it was. And it was dope. So it definitely can happen. You know what I mean? And they were street dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like they all like street dudes. You know what I'm saying? But they tight, you know. So it could work, man. It could work out. It's just, you know, putting everything to the side. So to the young lady who sent this in, I wish you the best of luck in figuring out your situation. I think the takeaways are, do you want to list the takeaways?
Yeah, I would say the takeaway, I would say follow your gut. You know, if all of the evidence is pointing towards this specific outcome, don't negotiate with yourself. Follow your gut. In this situation, it seems to me that like this is his daughter, and even though he doesn't want to get the DNA test, he's clearly like treating her like this is his daughter, and so follow your gut. Hopefully, you have like a good group of people around you, family and friends that are there to kind of lean on, hold you accountable. Somebody that you could talk to that can help, make this breakup a little bit more bearable for you. And I guess the other takeaway is, just follow your gut. Have a good have people in your corner.
My last thing would be, and again, something that I've done before is just taking note of the cons, like knowing I shouldn't be in this situation and writing down all the reasons I shouldn't be in this situation. I like to write stuff down.
Yeah.
Write down all the reasons I shouldn't be in this situation, putting it in a note on my phone. And whenever I'm ready to call this person, whenever I'm ready to do whatever, I read that note. And literally reading that stuff puts me right back in the mind state of the day I walked away from the situation. It's just like, yeah, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? Because, and sometimes you'll call somebody and link up with them, and it don't take nothing but 30 minutes to realize, like, why you did not want to continue that situation. So, best of luck to you again. Hopefully you took the most out of this conversation. And I appreciate you for sending that in. So for everybody who's listening to this, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the streaming platforms, YouTube, everywhere, everybody who's listening to this, if you need anything, make sure you tap in, send your anonymous question in. And again, I want you to drop your information. Do you have open availability for people?
I just took on a bunch of new clients last week, so I don't have availability, but I should probably in another month or so.
Okay.
So again, my office is on 107th and Western, and I take in-person appointments, also virtual appointments as well on Zoom. And if you want to get in contact with me, my website is www.ckpsych.com. And then my Instagram handle is also the same thing, ckpsych. If you want to email me, my email address is clk.therapist@gmail.com.
Absolutely. All right, man. I appreciate you coming through. And that's it. That's it for this episode of Free Therapy. All right.